I'm hearing from those opposite this afternoon, because it's clear that they have no idea what is happening on the other side of the Westgate Bridge. Despite the claims this afternoon that the government has created thousands of jobs since coming into office, in my electorate of South West Coast, unemployment still remains high. Since December 2014, the first month of the Andrews government, compared to May this year, Warrnambool and South West have lost 1,666 full-time jobs, and the unemployment rate has increased by 0.7 percentage points. The government's jobs program has failed in my region. The figures show it. The irony is that we have enormous opportunity in South West Coast, and this government can't see it. Right now, my community is in fear that jobs will disappear because of inaction by this government. The main hospital in my region, the Warrnambool-based hospital, needs its two epicentres, accident and emergency and the theatres, expanded to cope with the population increase. If we want people to move to the regions and work, we need good functioning hospitals that can meet demand. The Health Minister won't even come to visit. I've asked for some planning money, at the very least, to get the preliminary work done so we can get on with the job, and I ask here again. Now, let's get on to the other major issue in our region, which is impacting on jobs, the roads. I've spoken about this issue many times in this House. The Glenelg Shire Council has put together a document called the Green Triangle Freight Action Plan, a fantastic comprehensive plan which calls for around $180 million in road funding to ensure that key freight networks can be built and repaired to improve efficiency and support industry. That means jobs. The Minister for Roads has seen this document. In fact, he launched it last week. So we should understand, now that he's read the document, how important funding roads properly is to local jobs. The document highlights the timber and forest industry, which supports 18,000 full-time jobs, and estimates suggest it will support an additional, or have an additional requirement of 550 jobs by the end of this year. But not without good roads. They are the foundation of successful industries and therefore jobs. Both agriculture and timber are high-volume industries, but profit margins are thin. Any timber production within 100 kilometres of the Port of Portland is considered viable as long as the transport routes are efficient. At the moment, that freight network is not efficient, and so far the government has done little to rectify this issue. Last week, the Minister for Roads attempted to hoodwink the good people of my electorate by making it look like he was announcing $44 million worth of new funding for road maintenance and repair. I have continuously called for this city-centric government to give country people the respect of safe roads to travel on. 12 years of poor Labor government before 2010 has left roads crumbling. Now we have the insult of a road funding announcement which has been revealed as spin. It's mostly old money packaged up to trick the good people of South West Coast into believing something is being done. Too arrogant is this government to take up the offer to match the federal government dollars on the table to really add some substance and address the problem. Road projects started by the Liberal government have been stopped in my electorate, like the Country Roads and Bridges program, and claims that we did nothing are being used to cover up Labor's total disregard for our roads. Don't play with us, Minister. You have a job to do. Fix the roads and keep our community safe and productive. At the moment, many of our freight roads, like the road leading into the Port of Portland, are crumbling. They are costing transport companies thousands of dollars in repairs each week. These added costs further strip the thin profit margins. If things get any worse, and they will with the wet spring predicted, those costs to transport companies carting timber from plantation to port will continue to increase. As costs increase, profit margins fall, and those 18,000 full-time jobs this industry supports are put at risk. Yet the government is here, trumpeting how wonderful its jobs program is. Clearly, they are only concerned about what's happening in the city, and regional areas can be just left to languish. While in opposition, the Minister for Roads announced a $1 billion road infrastructure fund that would support jobs. In the letter to the editor written in 2014, he wrote, and I quote, Regional highways and arterial and local roads are falling apart and are riddled with dangerous cracks and potholes. As part of Project 10,000, Labor will introduce a $1 billion fund for regional road projects, which is exclusive of and in addition to current funding through the TAC and the current roads budget. That letter was written in 2014 and nothing has changed since. The roads are still cracked and dangerous. We are almost halfway through this government's term and yet to see any evidence of this $1 billion fund except for a glossy brochure which promoted lowering speed limits on country roads, which will destroy efficiencies for transport companies, which will in turn destroy jobs. The poor road condition are also posing a safety risk for people in my region, people who are just trying to go about their daily lives. Just last night, tragically, a young woman was killed in a collision with a truck on the Portland-Nelson Road, one of the roads which has been identified in the Freight Action Plan as being in severe disrepair. I extend my thoughts and sympathies to the young woman's family, and my thoughts are with the truck driver. The safety of people is of utmost importance. This government is talking about jobs, but it continues to disregard its responsibility to people and misses opportunities in regional areas. South West Coast is set to produce a wealth of agricultural products for international markets, desperate for protein needs, and it needs to support and make this production more efficient. Farmers need cattle underpasses so stock can safely cross busy roads. The Liberal government money that has funded many cattle underpasses has run out. Labor has promised to put money into this too from the proceeds of the lease of the Port of Melbourne, but we haven't heard any more about that. Please get on with this, Minister. Aside from roads and the impacts they will have on local jobs, there is a genuine fear that a key part of my region's manufacturing industry is on the brink of closure. Portland Aluminium Smelter recently shed another 20 jobs and its employees have agreed to a wage freeze in an effort to secure their jobs. The smelter employs around 500 people directly, but across the region supports more than 2,000 people in full-time positions in the population of Portland's 10,000. At the moment, management is in the middle of negotiating a new energy supply contract, yet the government seems to be offering very little assistance. If every job matters, as the Premier so often states, why are those opposite doing nothing to support Portland Aluminium? Why are the jobs in regional areas less important than those in the city? Another larger employer in Portland area that has also flagged its intention to move to South Australia because this government is reluctant to assist it to train and attract new employees. This employer employs over 100 people directly and needs to employ another 50 additional employees today. This company has a brilliant in-house training program aimed to give new staff a comprehensive view of every aspect of the business. Yet, when it asks government to help to attract some new employees and support these employees through training, nothing was forthcoming. It's disgraceful that this government has ignored this business. There are jobs about to be lost from this state, but once again, because the business isn't based in the city, the government doesn't care. The fantastic, and can I hear my sarcasm, I hope, new trade and investment campaign, State of Momentum, is another example of this government and how little regard it has for country Victoria. The campaign material focuses on Melbourne and why it was a good idea to invest there. Well, just in case those opposite have forgotten, there is much more to this wonderful state than just Melbourne. The campaign completely ignores the investment opportunities in regional Victoria. In South West Coast, we have direct access to international export markets through the Port of Portland, a brilliant incentive for businesses looking to the global markets. But the new campaign makes absolutely no mention of it and the other opportunities in South West Coast, once again because it's on the wrong side of the Westgate Bridge. A mayor from my region who was at the campaign launch said he could not believe just how focused on the city the campaign was. He said it completely missed the mark and failed to promote the vast opportunities for growth in regional Victoria. Those opposites are saying how wonderful this job program is. But in reality, the government has failed, continues to fail, and is failing every day to hit the mark in South West Coast.